Yo, what's good, guys? We are wrapping up the tier list content today with everybody's favorite. This is the tier list that most people gravitate towards because pitchers are typically more cut and dry than like hitters, right? Anybody can kind of tell, um, who's a good hitter, and you come to like certain swings and you have personal preference. Pitching is much more subjective. It's about pitch mix, how hard you throw, and your through nines. There's a lot more that goes into it, but also it's a lot more. A good player will pick out a good pitcher very easily. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing you guys who I think you should be using in your starting rotation and bullpen in ranked at the start of set 4. If you do enjoy the content, feel free to like, even subscribe if you have seen multiple of the channel's videos and do enjoy the content. Let's get started. I think this Aaron Nola card is just kind of mid. I believe his pitch mix is very good. I'm a little foggy on him. So we got four seam, knuckle curve, circle change, sinker, and a cutter. What's his through nines? It is actually exceptional. This card's not that bad. On a budget, I think he could be very good. But in general, I would probably stay away from him. Advert, pretty solid. A lot of people vouching for him out of the bullpen. You will see a common theme here is we don't have a lot of S tier relievers anymore. So there's going to be a lot of A tier, a lot of decent relievers, no shutdown relievers. The way S tier will work is my best 5 starting pitchers, or who I think is the best 5, will fit in the S tier. I think Leiter is one of those guys for sure. Definitely more of a finesse pitcher. Definitely more of a Hall of Fame / legend type pitcher. This Babe Ruth card, pretty mid, has an okay pitch mix, but his through nines aren't very good, and he's going to struggle with control. Also has a very annoyingly long windup if you are pitching with him. Billy Wagner, A tier. Probably could have made the argument for S tier prior to the recent BR drop, but now I do believe he is firmly in the A tier. Snellzilla, one of the more overpriced cards in the game. Just super mid, super one-dimensional. He's kind of got that like Chris Sale thing going for him, where he's going to hurt lower skilled players or newer players because he has kind of a funky delivery and throws kind of hard. So he is similar to Sale in that aspect. I just would not pay what he goes for. This Bob Gibson is a far cry from the Bob Gibson we had in Season 1. I'm not even sure if this card has Outlier. And if he does, his control and his through nines don't justify using him. Throws a loopy slider now instead of that hard slider that the 99 did. He is BP. Even more so. I always thought he was BP, but now even more so he is. Brock Stewart, decent 5-pitch mix, not very good through nines. That's his problem. Camillo, very good on the legend. On Hall of Fame, he's probably B tier, maybe even C tier, you can make the argument. But on legend, where you just have one split second to decide whether or not to swing, mixed with his janky release, makes him very good. Kershaw, this is a stand-in for the collection reward Kershaw because he is not available. Because for some reason Showzone doesn't add players to their website until they are discovered. So I do believe Kershaw will fit in the best 5 in the game when he is discovered. It's just going to be a minute. This Cliff Lee is just worse Roy Halladay, to be honest. Doesn't throw a splitter like Roy Halladay, but just a finesse control freak type pitcher. Just kind of mid, going to struggle on everything not called legend difficulty. Kluber has a debate for maybe the best starting pitcher in the game now. If you do take him, you are getting arguably the best starter in the game. The problem is he's going to not really exceed on Hall of Fame. You're going to have to be playing a legend to really max out his potential. And he's not going to be that traditional, like Randy type best pitcher in the game. He's not going to be overwhelming batters. He's more of a finesse guy that induces weak contact. This Eckersley, not very good. Never really a fan of Eckersley cards. And then this one's a 97 with not awesome through nines. Don't really like that card. Devin Williams, if he was a 99, if he did throw faster, that's the big difference between this one and the 99 from the start of the year, is his fastball tops out like 1 to 2 miles an hour lower, and so does his cutter, just kind of BP. Dustin May, I think, could fit in the best 5 in the game, and I think you are probably looking at the best 5 in the game with these pitchers. Currently, obviously I'm going to add one more. But I think this probably is your best rotation possible moving into this season. I think I'll probably put 6 pitchers there because I could see an argument for 2 guys. This Edwin card, Terrible, terrible. You're gonna look at the through nines, and a bad player is going to think this is a very good card. It's not. He basically throws two pitches, right? He throws a sinker and a fastball. If you're on anything except for legend, if somebody swings for the sinker, they're gonna hit the fastball. If they swing for the fastball, they're gonna hit the sinker. They're basically the same pitch, and then he just throws a slider on top of it. Just not a very good pitcher. Gagne, if you like Gagne, I think he's up there. For me personally, I think he's kind of BP. I think like three of his pitches are the exact same speed, and then it's either the fastball or the curveball. So he can get very predictable, but I do think he is still solid. This Valenzuela card is very bad. I think he could give you a pretty quality outing for like 1 to like 4 innings, but after that, that second, third time through the lineup, he's going to get shelled. After a good player sees how far his changeup, how far his screwball drops, and then they're always going to be ready for his kind of slow fastball, they're just going to tank it. Framber, decent low A tier option. He's a free card. Can exceed on like super high difficulties, but just probably not going to be your guy on All-Star. Throws a very slow cutter. Garrett Crochet, if you're in need of a lefty specialist, is not bad. He was in my bullpen. I think he might still make my bullpen moving forward. This Whitlock card throws 2 fastballs and then 2 not so great pitches, so he's pretty mid, to be honest, but what can you expect out of a free card? Santos, I'm not sure if he's S tier, has a very funky delivery. A lot of people in the last one were like, oh, how's Dibble not in? How's Class A not in? But Santos is. Overall does not mean anything with a pitcher. What matters is, yes, the through nines do matter, but what matters more is the control, the pitch mix, the arm slot they throw at, if they have outlier. Santos checks a lot of those boxes. He is very good. DeGrom, I did have him in the best rotation in the game. He has struggled so mightily for me. It's insane. I've been hearing some stories of people turning around their performances with him. He's solid now. He's decent now. I think he still can be, and he is probably tied for like the most overwhelming pitcher you can own right now. But a lot of people have just gotten a lot of reps over the year against DeGrom. This Duran card could make an argument for A tier if he still had the same arm slot as last year. They make him throw sidearm now, which absolutely kills his 12-6, kind of kills his splitter. In previous years, that 12-6 from the completely over-the-top arm slot that he had actually had a surprising amount of drop on it, and it made good players swing at it. Now it's a terrible pitch. Joel, out of the windup, you can make an argument for S tier. Out of the stretch, I think you make an argument for B tier. So I think you meet him somewhere in the middle. Ideally, you want to bring him in when there's no runners on base and you get that glitched animation where the ball like falls out of his hand. That is where he's going to operate and be at his peak. This Joe Nathan card just has a pretty decent pitch mix and not awful through nines, but I would not put him in my bullpen personally. John Don, tied for Kluber, probably 1A, 1B for best pitcher in the game. I think it's probably still John, but if you like Kluber and you do play on legend difficulty, I think you can make that argument. Alvarado, awesome lefty specialist. As far as a lefty specialist goes on high difficulties, he's going to be very, very good. The problem with him is on Hall of Fame and lower, 3 of his pitches go the exact same speed, so he's going to give up a lot of foul balls. You're going to have to be on a higher difficulty where you can induce swings and misses to really see any great progress with him. This card's basically the same as Crochet. I think Crochet throws like 1 more pitch than he does. Hader probably has the weirder arm slot. Just both mediocre lefty specialists that I would never let see a righty in their life. And we had a card glitch out here, so I'm not sure who that is. That kind of sucks. Kendall Graveman here, very solid pitch mix. I believe his through nines are pretty decent. 125, 101. The control is a little low. So the control's a problem. But then you come to his pitch control, and it's not that bad other than the circle change. So I think he is solid. I think he can be a good option. And we're just not going to know who that is. That's unfortunate. Especially because it's a good card. And the website is broken. So I'm going to reload. And I'll see you guys back in a second. So we are back, and it was Cliff Lee who disappeared. Lou Trevino, decent. Has, a similar pitch mix to somebody like Brock Stewart. Also, kind of lacks those super high through nines, but he has a very good pitch mix and he has a funky delivery, which is something he has over Brock Stewart. So I would definitely call him slightly better than him. Luis, all-star demon. If you are a all-star player, you can just pitch Luis and just throw the up and in sinker, and you're gonna have a lot of success with him. Um, on higher difficulties, good players are going to shell him because he only throws like 3 pitches. But on the all-star against mediocre players, even bad players, he should be great. Stroman, if you're on Legend, probably A tier. If you're Hall of Fame or lower, definitely B tier. Just his speed differentials are awful. On Hall of Fame and lower, people are going to foul off everything you throw. I'm pretty sure all of his pitches are within 10 miles an hour of each other. Just not a recipe for success, especially on lower difficulties. I think Mo probably still has the argument for, S tier. The through nines went down a little bit, and his velo went down a little bit. The velo's the problem for me. I'm sure we all saw Mo topping out at 98, 99 on this cutter in the previous seasons on that incognito card. This one's topping out at 97. He's throwing it more consistently 95, 94. So you're going to have to be more of a finesse guy with Mo. You're going to have to pitch a little smarter with him, but he still has that kind of weird delivery. His sinker still comes out from a weird slot, and I think he is one of your better options of a righty out the bullpen. Mark Mulder, not very good. Probably bottom of A tier. Basically left-handed Greg Maddux. Throws like 1 mile an hour harder than Maddux does. I would stay away from him, but I know a lot of people did enjoy Maddux. Diego could probably make an argument for the best rotation in the game. But for me personally, he's more of like that DeGrom level where he can be very volatile. What saves him is the fact that his slurve can get up to 90, 91. So you can kind of use it to jam batters. It's almost like a slider that breaks way more. But unfortunately, it does count as a curveball, right? So if it gets hit, it gets punished really hard. Just not really my favorite pitcher in the world. I'm going to need a bigger sample size with him. Matt Cain, fine card. Would I do the extreme program just for him? Would I stop at him? No. I think he's fine. The problem with him is his control is not as good as you'd probably like it to be. Otherwise, he probably would be a pretty solid pitcher. Max Fried, probably bottom of A tier. I haven't really looked at this card too much, so we'll do a little live reaction to him. 4, 12, slider, sinker, circle change. Pretty default pitch mix. You can see the controls on those pitches are insane. So is his control, but his hits are extremely low. Basically, Mark Mulder, right? If you don't want to go back and get Mark Mulder, you can just do Max Fried from the XP path. They are very similar cards. This Lorenzen card, very slept on. If you don't know how to get them, you go your Tops Now. You do enough of them. Under the Tops Now program, there is a collection option. That's the only way I think you can get them, or get to that screen to collect those cards and get him. But he is pretty solid. I don't see him a lot online. I think Nestor, another one of these like control freak lefties that I think are going to get lit up unless you're on Legend difficulty. So I think he is solid, but I'd probably stay away. Nolan, very similar to DeGrom. 2 pitchers that thrive off their sinker, and if you throw their fastball more than their sinker, you're probably not going to have fun. DeGrom has the slider, so I would definitely lean DeGrom, but Nolan Ryan can be more overpowering, although I have noticed with this Nolan, he does not top out like that. I don't think I've seen him throw over 103, and it's not a consistent 103. If you guys did face that World Series reward one, he did not throw a fastball under 102 for like the first 60 pitches of the game. And this one's not quite to that level. So I'm imagining his velo on his fastball is probably not maxed. Corbin, as a lefty specialist out the bullpen, very solid option. Has a good pitch mix. Has an insanely slow curveball. Not awful as a lefty specialist. Somebody to think about. Somebody that's not too hard to get. Skeens could have a discussion for the best rotation in the game. For me personally, I'd rather have Dustin May over him just because May throws that hard cutter where Skeens throws a soft cutter. But they do kind of accomplish different things. So it's kind of whatever you want to do with your pitcher. This Randy is not going to be the other Randy. His through nines are bad. He rarely, if ever, tops out over 101, even with his outlier. He's going to struggle quite a bit, especially because people got so many reps against the 99 for so long. I think he can still be a solid option. And if I was on like a budget team or like didn't want to put a lot of time into the game and just picked him as your first AL West reward, he's fine. And I think you can just plug and play in your rotation and he'll be okay. I think Dibble's top of B tier. Basically, just a worse version of Duvall. You don't want to have too many of these pitchers in your bullpen where they throw that cutter, slider, sinker combo. Duvall has a sinker. That's better than anything Dibble has. Dibble throws a cutter and a slider. A good player is going to instantly spot the difference between those as soon as they're thrown, especially if you're not on Legend difficulty. So this is the other starter I was talking about. I think Roy Halladay on Legend has an argument to be one of the better pitchers in the game. Every other difficulty, probably not. He probably drops down to A tier. But for me personally on Legend, I think he does stay in my rotation, which is what I said, right? I said I would make this the best rotation in the game. Something I would use if I didn't like these guys or if I didn't want to use Dustin May, I'd probably use Roy Halladay. Rube Foster, basically just a better Valenzuela. He's still a gimmick pitcher, and that second time through the lineup is probably going to be rough for him. But until then, he can give you like 1 to 3 good innings. 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Just depends on how long it takes your opponent to warm up to him. This Helsley card, very good through 9s. You would think this card would be good. Has outlier. Just a very default, like Joe Random type release. There's nothing special about his release. Only throws 4 pitches. Those like the most 4 common pitches you can have. Just not really the best card in the game. Ryan Pressly, just a solid little option. I think he's been slept on a lot. In previous years, he's only had like 3 pitches. This year, he has 4. He has his 4-seam, slider, slurve, and a circle change. I believe he only had 3 before. You can kind of tunnel that slider and slurve to get people off of the pitches. I think he's a solid option. Would I use him personally? Probably not. Sandy, basically just like that Kaiju Sandy that we got, except worse. If you did enjoy that card, this card is fine to use. Just not gonna be anywhere close to the best pitcher in the game, in my opinion. Satchel, I've hated on Satchel enough. I think his control is too poor to pitch great on Hall of Fame or higher, especially Legend. If you're on True Legend, if you're playing routinely over 900 rating and you're playing an opponent that's over 900 rating, he's going to struggle. His pars on like his sinker and his screwball are going to be half the strike zone. He's going to leave stuff down the middle. He's just going to get tanked. Control's just too poor for that part to be that high. Shane McClanahan throws like 3 pitches, I think. Maybe he has a sinker. He throws 4 pitches, but you're not really gonna throw the curveball like that. And the only thing he has going for him is the high through 9s and the fact his delivery's a little bit funky. But again, just not a very good card. Shohei, top of A tier. He's like interchangeable with like Digo and DeGrom and Skeens and Nolan Ryan, where like he can be that 6th to like 8th best pitcher in the game. Again, with him, it's control issues more than anything. Trevor Hoffman, I think, is actually pretty solid. I kind of slept on this card. If you use him properly, if you bring him in after somebody like a John Dunn or Nolan Ryan or Digo or Skeens, like a flamethrower, a fireballer, and you bring him in as like a change of pace type pitcher for like an inning or even just 3 batters, that's great. That is awesome. He can do that for you. He can change up the pace of the game. This Rosenthal card, where is Helsley? Because he is just Helsley that you can pay for the most part. These cards are very similar. I think maybe Rosenthal has a better pitch mix. Yeah, I mean, just because he has a 2-seam, but other than that, they're very identical cards. So it's just personal preference, or if you for some reason want 2 of the same pitcher, you can have that. Walter's awful. Do not let the fact that he is a 99 deceive you. Similar to Luis Castillo, he is going to pub stomp, right? He's going to be good on All-Star against bad players. Good players are going to send him to the moon. They're going to light him up like a Christmas tree, because Walter only has vertical break. All of his stuff either stays where it's at or it drops. And a good player is just going to key in on that, and they are going to tank him. He has no horizontal break. If he had a cutter, if he had a slider, he would be very good. But you can see Four seam, it's going to stay straight. Sinker is going to break inside a little, so that's your only real horizontal break. Curveball is going to be BP. Changeup is going to break straight down. So just no horizontal break. It's not going to work very good for you against good players. Yunior Kano, just bang on average out the pen, has that outlier sinker, but doesn't have that weird release like Santos. So for my money, give me Santos every day of the week. Zach Gallen, just kind of mid. I really don't even want to put him here, but he's basically a right-handed version of like Fried, Nestor, Mulder. He's the right-handed version of that if you want that. He will top out a little more than those guys, but not too great. My other lefty specialist would be Zach Britton. I think he's the best lefty specialist in the game, and for that reason, I'll send Alvarado down. But I do think Alvarado is very good. This Britton card is crazy. They gave him a changeup. I don't think they've ever given him a changeup in the past. I mean, he looks disgusting. Has the through nines. Actually has control, which is crazy on the Zach Britton card. You can see 99 control on the sinker with that walks through nine. The par is going to be almost as small as it possibly can be for him. Honestly, I almost would not mind pitching him against righties. In the past, I have not minded pitching Britton cards against righties. I think this one will be even better with the changeup. This Wheeler card, I said that on the last tier list, probably the most slept on pitcher in the game. I think he's very solid. There's no reason you can't succeed with him. Pretty similar to Nola, except a little better. And then Greinke. You would think this card would be good. He doesn't have outlier, right? It is Dodgers Zach Greinke when he was older and not throwing nearly as hard. But he did somehow end up with a lower ERA than Kershaw, like one or two of those years where they were just going back and forth. The problem with him is, other than he doesn't throw hard, Greinke in the past has tipped his pitches. I have not used him. Have not played against him this year. But I imagine he probably still tips his pitches. When he like breaks to pull the ball out the glove, you can see the grip on the ball. So he tips his pitches that way, or at least in the past he has. Hopefully they fix that, but Greinke and Darren O'Day in the past have tipped pitches. I know that off the top of my head. So that's what I think. So this is my tier list for this season. You can see S tier. We have... Okay, it did not save right at all. So if you guys did want the tiers, I think I did scroll through most of it. Wow, that really sucks. You're going to have to rewind. You're going to have to pause. You're going to have to scrub through the video if you do want to see it all. But I think I talked through all of it. I think I gave good rationale for all my picks. So if you are curious about anybody, or if I missed somebody you think that could be solid, the chat lit me up about Lou Trevino and somebody else, Adbert. They lit me up about them. They were right on them. I think they are decent cards. I would not say they're great, but that is kind of the state of the bullpen in set 4. And so, guys, you are getting this instead of the Inside the Mind, taking a break from the Inside the Mind this week to focus on co-op and some real-life stuff. And until next time, if you did enjoy the video, feel free to comment, subscribe, and like the video. Until next time, peace.